What it is, Tyrus here, and this is Nuff Said. This week I had the pleasure of sitting down with the amazing Fox favorite, Dr. Janet.
Wrestling fans know Tyrus as the tough, no-nonsense powerhouse who's conquered the ring and the TV screen. But recently, the former WWE and NWA star made headlines for something completely different. He finally tied the knot. And trust us, when you see his new wife, you'll understand why everyone's talking. Join us as we uncover the incredible journey of Tyrus and the woman who stole his heart. An unlikely journey. George Timothy Murdoch's story starts far away from bright lights and big entrances. Born on February 21, 1973 in Boston, Massachusetts, he came into the world already carrying a weight most adults would struggle with. His father was black, his mother was white, and instead of growing up in a united home, he grew up in one where his existence was a problem for some of the people around him. He has spoken about how, as kids, he and his brother were not welcome in his mother's family home because they were biracial. That kind of rejection does not just pass, it gets under the skin and stays there. As a child, Murdoch learned early that he had to depend on himself. For a time, he and his brother lived with a foster family. He has recalled being obsessed with changing his skin color, convinced that if he looked different, he might finally be accepted, and his family might feel whole. That painful idea tells you everything about how deep the damage went. It was not a phase. It was a survival thought from a kid who felt unwanted for something he could not control. In high school and college, football became his way forward. Murdoch moved to California, attended Quartz Hill High School, then Antelope Valley College, and later earned a spot with the University of Nebraska at Kearney playing for the Lopers. On the field, his size and work ethic finally had a place to belong. He was not just the kid with a hard past, he was the player who could hit, protect, push, and perform. While many only saw a big man in pads, he had another plan in mind. He studied education and wanted to become a teacher. For once, his future felt clear. Then everything changed in a single medical crisis. A surgery to remove his ruptured appendix led to nerve damage in his leg. What should have been a routine step back to health ended his football career for good. The damage left him with a limp, and with it the door to professional football, and that steady path he had imagined slammed shut. He had every reason to give up. Instead, he chose to move forward, even if he had no idea where that road would lead. The limp became a constant reminder that nothing in his life had ever been easy, and nothing was going to be handed to him. After college, Murdoch drifted through different jobs and stages, trying to figure out who he was without football. This period often gets skipped in quick bios, but it matters. He was a large, imposing man with charisma, but also someone still carrying childhood pain, a broken dream, and a stubborn refusal to disappear. That mix pushed him toward a world that rewarded presence, toughness, and character. Professional wrestling. In 2006, he signed with WWE and was assigned to its developmental territory, Deep South Wrestling. There, he stepped into the ring as G-Rilla, a rough street-style enforcer character built around his size and intensity. It was raw, loud, and unpolished, but it put him on the map. For the first time, he had a stage big enough for all that energy he had been building up for years. But success did not stick right away. In early 2008, WWE released him from his contract. After everything he had already gone through in life, this was another hard hit. He had fought his way into a major company, only to be told he was out. It was a clear message about how unforgiving the industry could be. No promises, no safety. If you did not fit or connect fast enough, you were gone. That early rejection in wrestling did not end his story, though. It forced him, once again, to choose between quitting and reinventing. And this is where things start to get even more interesting, because the man who walked away from that first WWE run is not the same man the world would soon recognize as Tyrus. The making of Tyrus. When George Murdoch came back to WWE in 2010, it was not just a return. It was a restart. This time, he was not the unsure newcomer from Deep South Wrestling. He came back with a clearer sense of who he was and what he could bring to the screen. He took on the name Brodus Clay, a nod to Snoop Dogg's real last name, Broadus, a small reminder of his time working as Snoop's bodyguard before wrestling. That detail mattered. It signaled presence, swagger, and a real-world toughness that fans could believe. Brodus Clay first appeared in WWE's developmental system and on NXT, where rookies were paired with mentors. On NXT's fourth season, he was presented as a heavy-hitting powerhouse backed by names like Ted DiBiase and later Alberto Del Rio. He made an impact fast, big frame, direct style, no nonsense. He finished the competition in second place, which still gave him momentum and visibility. Soon after, he stepped onto WWE's main roster as Alberto Del Rio's bodyguard, standing in Del Rio's corner, taking hits and sending a message without many words. This role helped him get valuable TV time and show that he could be trusted in big storylines. Then came the big turn that no one expected. In early 2012, after weeks of hype packages that made it seem like a monster was coming, Brodus Clay walked out on Raw as the Funkasaurus. Instead of a dark, angry destroyer, fans saw a huge man in bright gear, dancing, smiling, and moving with surprising energy. He came out from Planet Funk, backed by his dancers, the Funkadactyls, and used a catchy entrance theme that instantly stuck in people's heads. The character was loud, colorful, and playful, and it worked. Crowds reacted fast. Kids loved him. Adults were entertained. The contrast between his size and his fun entrance made his matches feel like an event every time he walked through the curtain. He was still a strong competitor in the ring, but he also made people smile, and that gave him something many big men never get: emotional connection with a wide audience. For a while, he was a regular face on WWE TV, picking up wins and staying over through personality as much as power. In June 2014, WWE released him. Instead of letting that be the end, he treated it as another turning point. Later that year, he arrived in Impact Wrestling under a new name, Tyrus. This version of him was more serious, more calculating. He aligned with Ethan Carter III, played the role of enforcer again, and leaned into a colder, more controlled presence. This run helped distance him from the bright, dancing image of the Funkasaurus and present him as a credible threat and veteran. And just when it seemed like his in-ring story was closing, his life was about to take an even more surprising turn with the woman who would stand beside him. Dominance and farewell. By the time Tyrus reached the National Wrestling Alliance, he was not a rising talent anymore. He was a veteran with years of wins, losses, and rebrands behind him. Joining NWA in 2021 was his chance to prove he was more than a former WWE character. It was a stage where he could stand on his own name, his own presence, and his own choices. Wikipedia. In NWA, he went after the NWA World Television Championship, a title with strict rules and real pressure. NWA had introduced the Lucky 7 rule. If a TV champion successfully defended the title 7 times, they could give it up in exchange for a shot at the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Tyrus won the TV title on August 6, 2021. And over time built a run that showed he was not just filling space. He was consistent. He was durable. He played the role of a dominant, slow, powerful champion who controlled the pace and forced challengers to work around him. After his 7th successful defense, he triggered the Lucky 7 rule. On the September 24, 2022 episode of NWA USA, he vacated the TV title to step up to the biggest prize in the company. This was more than a storyline choice. For him, it was a statement. He was done being a support act. He wanted the world title, the top spot, and the clear proof that his long road through different companies and characters meant something. That chance came at NWA Hard Times 3 on November 12, 2022, in a triple threat match against champion Trevor Murdoch and Matt Cardona. Tyrus walked out of that match as the NWA World's Heavyweight Champion, holding the famous 10 pounds of gold for the first time in his career. The final act came in 2023 at the NWA 75th anniversary show. He defended the World's Heavyweight Championship against EC3 in a bull rope match with one huge condition. If he lost, he would retire from in-ring competition. This was not an empty threat. He talked publicly about the decision and made it clear that the stipulation was real to him. His body had been through a lot. His career had gone further than many expected, and he had a family watching. On August 27, 2023, EC3 defeated him. Tyrus lost the title, and by the agreed terms, his wrestling career ended. In the ring and in interviews afterward, he accepted it directly. No denial, no spin. He thanked the fans, acknowledged the journey, and made it clear that it was time to step fully into the next phase of his life. He spoke openly about how his children wanted him home, wanted him at their games and milestones, and how that mattered more than holding a belt. Stepping away was not defeat for him. It was a choice to put his family first, and just as his time in the ring closed on that emotional note, his story off the mat, with his growing media presence and the woman by his side, was only getting more interesting. Beyond the ring. When Tyrus stepped away from full-time wrestling, he did not disappear. He shifted his weight into a new ring, television. His move into media started in November 2016, when Greg Gutfeld invited him onto The Greg Gutfeld Show as a guest commentator. The fit was immediate. Tyrus brought the same presence he had in the ring, blunt, steady, unshaken, and quick with sharp one-liners. Viewers noticed. Gutfeld noticed too and soon asked him to start appearing regularly using the name Tyrus on air. These appearances turned him from former wrestler into a familiar face for a new audience. On the panel, he played the role of the straight-talking, no-nonsense voice. He was big, calm, and confident, often pushing back with a mix of humor and edge. Over time, he became a recurring guest and later a regular presence on Fox News, especially in late-night formats. His on-air personality was clear. A conservative commentator who spoke plainly and did not mind arguments, and used humor to make his points. That style made him stand out in a crowded field of talking heads. As his popularity grew, Fox News and Fox Nation gave him more space. He became a contributor on the Daily Briefing with Dana Perino, adding commentary on political stories, culture topics, and current events. He then moved into hosting roles on Fox Nation, co-hosting on PC and later fronting his own program, Nuff Said, where he had more freedom to shape conversations and bring his personality forward. These shows allowed him to mix opinion, culture talk, and light debate in a style that matched his background, direct, confrontational when needed, and never shy. In 2021, when Greg Gutfeld's late-night format evolved into Gutfeld, Tyrus remained a key on-screen figure, serving as one of the core panelists and often being introduced as Gutfeld's massive sidekick. This role kept him visible 5 nights a week and cemented him as part of Fox's entertainment meets commentary lineup. His platform grew again in 2023, when he hosted the premiere episode of Fox News Saturday Night, helping launch the weekend show and showing he could carry an hour of television as the main voice, not just a guest. Then came another big step. In 2024, he launched Maintaining with Tyrus with Outkick, a talk series and podcast where he sits down with political figures, entertainers, athletes, and media personalities. Here, he leans even more into long-form conversation. The show highlights his comfort with sensitive topics, especially culture and politics, and his interest in giving guests space while still putting his own views on the table. Of course, this media rise did not come without friction. As a bold on-air figure, Tyrus has been involved in public controversies and tense headlines, including widely reported allegations tied to his time at Fox Nation. He has continued working in the media space through investigations, criticism, and online backlash. His approach has been to keep showing up, keep talking, and lean on the audience that supports him. In doing so, he has learned how to operate in an environment where every comment is watched, every joke is judged, and every move can be turned into a story. What stands out is that Tyrus managed to build a second career by being himself on camera, the same direct kid who fought through rejection and the same performer who understood timing and presence, now using his voice instead of his body as his main tool. And while his media career was taking off, something even more personal and surprising was growing quietly in the background, his life with the woman who would soon become his wife. Enter Ingrid Rinck. Before she was known as Tyrus's wife, Ingrid Rinck had already built a life, a brand, and a strong identity of her own. Born on April 24, 1981 in the United States, she grew up with an interest in movement, confidence, and independence. As a teenager, she stepped into her first fitness class and felt an immediate connection. By 16, instead of just attending classes, she was already teaching them. That early start shaped everything that followed. She never took the traditional path of a college degree. Instead, she put her time into real-world training, certifications, and hands-on experience, slowly building a long-term career in fitness on her own terms. Over the years, She earned multiple fitness certifications and trained clients in different forms of exercise, from strength work to dance-based fitness. This constant work in studios and classes helped her understand what people actually struggle with, not just losing weight, but staying consistent, feeling confident, and managing real-life responsibilities at the same time. Out of this experience, she created the Rinck routine, which was more than a single workout style. It was a daily system. Her approach focused on regular movement, mindful choices, and building habits that people could stick to, not extreme rules that burned them out. In interviews and appearances, she explained that the routine was about how you live each day, not just what you do in one workout. Later, she publicly shared that she no longer wanted to use the Rinck routine name, distancing herself from a surname and season of life she had outgrown. Even in that decision, you can see her sense of control over her image and her business. If something no longer felt right, she was willing to change it and start fresh, rather than stay attached to a brand she did not fully stand behind anymore. But fitness classes were only the beginning. Ingrid became widely known as the founder of Sensible Meals, a portion-controlled meal prep company she started after one of her sons was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. Faced with his condition, she threw herself into learning about nutrition, blood sugar control, and balanced eating. She began preparing careful meals for him, then for friends who saw the results, and eventually for customers across the country. What began as a response to a personal crisis grew into one of the largest meal prep operations in the United States, employing many people and shipping meals nationwide. Reports and profiles have described Sensible Meals as a multi-million-dollar company at its peak, built not through shortcuts but through long hours, direct involvement, and constant adjustment. In her 2018 and 2019 interviews, she talked openly about being a single mother at one point, working with limited money, making mistakes, and still pushing through. Her message was clear. You do not need a perfect background to build something big. You need discipline, patience, and a real reason to keep going. At home and online, Ingrid also embraced the role of mentor and mother. She has 3 sons of her own, plus her shared family with Tyrus, and she often speaks about wanting her kids to see real work, real effort, and real self-respect. The same rules she teaches clients apply in her house. What you do every day adds up. That is her core belief, that routine shapes the outcome. It guides how she runs her businesses, how she trains, and how she parents. Her life blends strict structure with real empathy, especially for people who feel overwhelmed, unhealthy, or stuck. So when she stepped into Tyrus's world, she did not arrive as just the wrestler's partner. She came in as a builder, a leader, and someone who had already turned struggle into strength. And that is exactly where their story together starts to get even more interesting. The love story of Tyrus and Ingrid. Their love story began long before the papers were signed or the headlines caught up. By 2014, Tyrus and Ingrid were already moving in the same direction, even if the public did not know all the details. Their worlds crossed at the point where strength, discipline, and survival met. He was the veteran wrestler and rising TV personality with a hard past and a strong presence. She was the focused fitness entrepreneur and mother, building businesses from real-life struggles. Over time, that connection turned into a steady partnership built on mutual respect, family, and work ethic, rather than quick attention. By the mid-2010s, they were together and raising their daughter, Georgie Rose, born May 7, 2014, while also caring for children from their previous relationships. Even as Tyrus's career on Fox News was taking off and Ingrid's companies were growing, they chose to keep the deeper parts of their relationship private. There were no constant interviews about their romance, no staged oversharing. For years, most of what fans saw came in small pieces: photos, tour moments, family clips, and the way he talked about her. What he did share, though, was very clear. On social media and TV, Tyrus often spoke about Ingrid with open pride. He called her his beautiful wife, his everything, and famously, the queen of my tiny wild kingdom, a phrase he used while showing off their busy home full of pets and kids. Even before they were legally married, he referred to her as his wife, signaling how committed he already felt and how central she was in his life. In April 2020, after years together, he made that commitment public with a formal proposal. Tyrus gave Ingrid an emerald and diamond engagement ring, sharing the moment with fans and writing that it was never too late to do things right. He described her as his everything and said she deserved the world, making it clear that this was not just a casual. What he did share, though, was very clear. On social media and TV, Tyrus often spoke about Ingrid with open pride. He called her his beautiful wife, his everything, and famously, the queen of my tiny wild kingdom, a phrase he used while showing off their busy home full of pets and kids. Even before they were legally married, he referred to her as his wife, signaling how committed he already felt and how central she was in his life. In April 2020, after years together, he made that commitment public with a formal proposal. Tyrus gave Ingrid an emerald and diamond engagement ring, sharing the moment with fans and writing that it was never too late to do things right. He described her as his everything and said she deserved the world, making it clear that this was not just a casual step, but a promise built on a decade of shared history, children, challenges, and victories. What followed was not a rushed wedding, but a 4-year gap between engagement and official ceremony. During this time, they continued living as partners and parents, supporting each other's projects. He kept calling her his wife. She stayed present at his side at events, tours, and key moments, from his NWA run to media appearances and book signings. That long wait reflects patience and trust. There was no need to prove anything to anyone. The relationship was already solid in their daily life, a promise built on a decade of shared history, children, challenges, and victories. What followed was not a rushed wedding, but a 4-year gap between engagement and official ceremony. During this time, they continued living as partners and parents, supporting each other's projects. He kept calling her his wife. She stayed present at his side at events, tours, and key moments, from his NWA run to media appearances and book signings. That long wait reflects patience and trust. There was no need to prove anything to anyone. The relationship was already solid in their daily life. The legal milestone arrived in January 2024. Records from Clark County, Nevada confirm that they obtained their marriage license on January 6, 2024, and multiple reports and coverage note that they officially married shortly after, marking the moment when their longtime partnership became formal on paper. For many fans who had heard him call her his wife for years, the confirmation felt both surprising and satisfying. It was less new love and more a public acknowledgement of what had already been true privately. Their wedding did not turn into a huge televised spectacle. There were no over-the-top media stunts. Instead, it was treated as a quiet, personal celebration, in line with how they had handled their relationship from the beginning. The focus stayed on their family, their home life, and their ongoing work, not on turning their marriage into a brand moment. The scandal that tested their marriage. When people look at Tyrus and Ingrid now, they see a strong couple, a big family, and a busy life. What many forget is that their relationship was pushed through real fire in front of the public. The biggest test came with the Britt McHenry lawsuit, a scandal that dragged their private world into headlines. In 2019, Britt McHenry, Tyrus's former co-host on the Fox Nation show UNPC, accused him of sexual harassment. She claimed he had sent her lewd and inappropriate text messages and later said the network did not act properly on her complaints. Fox News responded by saying the matter had been reviewed and resolved, and they did not remove Tyrus from the network. On December 10, 2019, McHenry filed a lawsuit against Fox News, Tyrus, and others, alleging sexual harassment, gender discrimination, and retaliation. From that point on, every detail became public content. Text messages were reported in the press. Commentators took sides. Social media turned the case into a constant topic. For Tyrus and his family, this was not just a story. It was their lives, their kids, and their home being talked about by people who had never met them. Fox News maintained that it had handled the issue internally. Tyrus continued appearing on air. McHenry, meanwhile, pushed forward with the case. Over time, questions were raised about missing evidence, including reports that she no longer had the phone that she said contained key messages. The legal fight went on until July 2021, when the lawsuit was voluntarily dismissed after the parties reached an undisclosed settlement. The terms were not made public, and both sides moved on, leaving the public to argue about what they believed. While the case played out, The Murdoch family lived through intense pressure. Tyrus's reputation was attacked, his character was questioned, and by extension, so was his home life. Ingrid and the children had to see his name, their family name, tied to ugly headlines. Even when people do not know the full story, they still talk, judge, and repeat what they read. In December 2022, Ingrid finally let a glimpse of that weight slip through. In a post where she shared a moment with their daughter, she wrote about the past year and said the trauma her family had endured was too much to even share, but also spoke about how her husband had become an even stronger leader for their family through it. It was a short message but powerful. She did not relive details. She did not trade insults. She made it clear that inside their home, they had felt every hit, but they had chosen to stand together. How they handled it says a lot about their bond. There were no long public rants from Tyrus about the lawsuit, no constant replies to every headline. Instead, what he showed was consistency. He kept working, kept providing, and kept showing up for events, for commentary, for wrestling, and most importantly, for his family. That steady routine sent a message to the people who matter to him most. He was not running from them, and he was not crumbling. Inside the home, by all accounts, this period pushed them closer. Ingrid spoke about him stepping up as a leader. He, in turn, has often highlighted loyalty, responsibility, and the importance of protecting his family's peace. Whatever was said outside, their answer was to double down on communication, parenting, and shared goals. They chose to protect their kids from as much noise as they could and to keep their relationship grounded in the life they had actually built, not in how strangers labeled it. By the time the case was closed and the dust began to settle, what remained for them was not just relief, but a stronger sense of who they were together. Instead of letting the scandal define their story, they treated it as something they survived side by side. Their engagement held, their partnership held, and in the years that followed, they moved toward marriage with an even clearer understanding of what it means to stand with someone when it is hardest. And after walking through all of that, their day-to-day life, with kids, animals, and a house full of energy, shows a side of them that most headlines never will. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one.